Next, we'd like to invite Amy, would you like to come up? You actually brought your questionnaires. So you can pass
Yes,
those out.
I was asked to print 45
Yes.
of these 10-page
Thank you for reading through our questionnaires.
And
For those of
took up a
you,
whole ink cartridge, so I'm passing them out.
thank you.
Use.
And we'll make sure to recycle them too after they're read. They're also available online on the SFDCCC website for those of you that want to follow along. And there's also more in the back.
There you go.
Paging Pratima. Alright, so you'll have 15 minutes total, 5 minutes for presentation, and then 10 minutes for Q&A.
Okay, since I was asked to print these out and use the life of a small tree, why don't we go ahead and use them and read them together? So on page 2, if you turn there, I've been asked, what have I done with the Democratic Party? Why is my participation in the Democratic Party noteworthy? So I'm going to read this out loud to you guys. Thank you. So I am working hard to redesign the track of campaigning in San Francisco. I started this work back in 2015. I'm continuing it now. So that we can focus on policies and actionable initiatives in the Democratic Party, rather than the status quo of personalities, insider politics, and fundraising. Because currently, that's what the media loves, right? Is those kind of things to report on, rather than the issues. So how, as a Democratic Party, do we actually start focusing on the issues and make sure that whoever becomes mayor, we're working together to track progress, and we are truly working collaboratively. Regardless of whether the DCCC endorses me, and I think you should in a vote 1, 2, 3 slate with myself, Jane Kim, and Mark Leno, I hope that you work with me to promote and build upon the Mayor Outcomes Tracker that I have developed for this campaign and as a framework for future campaigns. So this is really a transformative effort so that we have a framework we can use, because I went through the 2015 process and I saw how that went, and we had an opportunity in 2015 to really shape the direction of this city. We did as well in 2011, but we should have all united in 2015 to go in a different direction. Even if you thought Ed Lee should have been that leader to take us there, we needed to course correct what had been going on for the last 4 years, right? So that to that end, I have developed this outcomes tracker so that voters, Democratic organizations, and media can gauge the progress of our mayor, because I want all of us to think of it this way. This is a trial run, right? We have from June 2018 to June 2019, right? Really, that we can track this progress, and then whoever's mayor, and probably currently the people who are running this time around, are also going to run in 2019. So we need to do this in a way that we're truly tracking these things. So now if you turn over to page 7 with me, or actually page 6. So I was asked, what specific policy changes would you propose to address the issue of chronic homelessness in San Francisco? So I have the link to the outcomes tracker there. You can get there at weissformayor.com as well. But this is what I'm asking of the Democratic Party. I would actually not be running for mayor right now if I felt that currently this was a priority for any of the candidates. To stabilize the 3,000 to 3,500 people that are living without access to a toilet, secure sleep, and organization on our streets and sidewalks. So that's the #1 thing I put, and that's for a reason. I have a plan that we can stabilize what's going on our streets. I developed a tool called an Encampment Livability Index, which can first be used to work interdepartmentally with encampment residents that exist right now on the streets, with DPW, with the neighbors. This is something I've been developing and piloting for 2.5 years with the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge. I sent this proposal to Jane Kim. Last year, she said she would move forward with this proposal. I sent this proposal to London Breed, didn't get an email. Jane Kim, to her credit, is the only one who actually responded, but has not really implemented or worked together on this particular issue. People are saying, let's put more money into DPW. One thing you should really know is that currently we are spending $8.7 million on DPW for just encampments. That tripled from 2015's cost of $3 million. So we've invested the money through the Lee administration there. And we have the ability to redirect that. The same with SFPD. We're currently spending $20.6 million a year on encampments. The outcomes are unacceptable. And so I would gladly stop campaigning if we were able to say, let's take that 30 million. I have a scalable plan that's block by block, community by community, for 3,000 people to be stabilized with $30 million. If the city were to put in $15 million to this, the Chamber of Commerce, I met with Jim Lazarus, he says this is the #1 issue for the tourism industry, for all the industries. So if they matched us with $15 million and the city put in $15 million, do you believe in your hearts, everyone in this room, that we can stabilize the encampment crisis by next year with 3,500 people? We can do that. But I need to be part of that process currently, and I would gladly serve in that process. I want to serve the city of San Francisco, and that's why I'm running for mayor of San Francisco. Thank you.
Do we have any members of the DCCC that have any questions? Member Baraka?
Amy, you know, I've been seeing you give your presentations in this process and previous ones, and actually, I think you've got some great ideas. My butt comes in when I think about evaluating you in a public office already. And I'm not comparing you to Donald Trump at all, but we saw that he had no experience. He got there. We know what a disaster it is. So what I'm saying is, it sounds like you have what it takes to do this kind of work. But you also have to think about, we as a people want to be able to see you be effective in a job, working with other departments, working with other people, you know, so we have an idea of what you would be like as an administrator. So can you address why you go from 0 to 60 and running for mayor without running for another public office, that we can see kind of your track record in office?
That is a great question. Thanks for asking it. So I actually believe I am one of the most qualified people to lead the city in this time, because I have spent 20 years in direct service work, in program development and program evaluation, looking at individual, collective, and organizational well-being. So I have experience working in a psychiatric hospital, in harm reduction programs, in HIV and AIDS programs, in leadership and development programs, in mental health, in transitional housing. So all of this breadth, I want to put together in this global sense of how we lead a transformative process for San Francisco to go from what we're currently at, which is our neighbors and neighborhoods and systems are in crisis. I know how to take those issues and actually heal them and stabilize them, thinking strategically. So I went back to school to SF State in 2008 to 2010. I got a degree in organizational development, and my forte was program evaluation and also strategic management and planning. Those are the things that I really gravitated to in that work. So I started a nonprofit after I graduated called Neighbors Developing Divisadero, because I realized we need to come up with the strategic yes for the issues that we're facing. Because I saw Chase Bank being rewarded in my neighborhood, and I got taken under the wing of Gus Fernandez and Dean Preston, who were fighting City Hall about their decisions about that. So at that point, I really didn't know much about the global economic system, but I saw it playing out at the neighborhood level, and that's when I realized, oh, the neighborhood and the national
Understood,
connect.
but why not run for supervisor? Why not run for
So I've
commission?
actually invested my time in building those solutions, and then I did run for mayor in 2015 because I actually felt that by working with the community, showing up at all these meetings, connecting with people, that I didn't really hear a yes at that time from the progressive movement. I heard a resist and push back. And I understood that. I understood, because resisting and pushing back is important against displacement. But I had the long-term vision and understanding that after 2011, we were gonna have tech boom displacement 2.0. Like, I saw that, and then I wanted to understand it more, so I devoted myself to neighborhood development and mechanisms to do that together. Then I ran for mayor. That gave me a different launch pad to be able to say, okay, I can focus on the encampment crisis, because one of the things I wanted to do was stabilize the encampment situation and not accept it anymore that this is an intractable problem. And so, inspired by Francis of Assisi, who says, first do what's necessary, then do what's possible, I started the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge. That is where I've done the work that you're asking of me. I have met with department heads from Department of Homelessness, from Department of Public Works, from, I've talked with Barbara Garcia. I have worked with SFPD on the ground, DPW on the ground. And the way I describe this is very similar to when I worked at the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, and I didn't really know about the holistic well-being of the body at that point, but I learned about the HIV virus and how it affects the whole system, so then I started to become more of a systems awareness person, but it was through that crisis of HIV. So I am a much stronger candidate than I was 3 years ago because I've been working on the ground, and my bread and butter is program evaluation and needs assessment issues. And so I actually know how to work with the existing department heads, all the players, how they're connected to this, and I want to joyfully lead everyone at the table because I'm a facilitator. So did you know, I'm gonna elaborate on this. Did you know, because I'm gonna answer your question, I really,
Please.
and I do, but did you know that I started something called the Safe Organized Spaces Working Group, Mission Housing Development Corporation, Lava May, Downtown Streets team. I have members of the Democratic Socialists of America in there, as well as members of YIMBY Action. I am actually a bridge that can bridge people through values and critical thinking and a pragmatic vision that are usually on different sides of the table. The only thing that I usually get attacked for is that I refuse to hate certain people because I will work with anybody together for the greater good. And I get attacked for not kicking out Sonia Traus from YIMBY Action from our working group to address homelessness. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna kick someone out.
But why not run for a different office? Why not
Because
run for supervisor?
great question, the last 2 years I have seen that Jane Kim and all the other supervisors have been pushing back against the administration, and they all said, we can't do this. We can't do this, Amy. And I said, well, why don't we change the legislation? And then Phil Ting created AB 932, which allows us to actually change the code locally to say that these are reasonable building standards for small shelters. Because here's the thing, I have an insurance agreement, I have a license agreement, I have worked with all of these partners. We have a plan that's ready to go. All we need is the city to say, yes, let's treat this like a crisis and stabilize it like a crisis. But they haven't been doing it, and you know why? They say because the mayor's office, the fire department, XYZ won't do it. So then Phil Ting comes along at the state level and says, here's AB 932, and we throw a party. We're so excited because guess what? This means we're gonna be able to do this. He also passed AB 857, that lets us have access to Caltrans land. Woohoo! We're ready to go. But no, because London Breed is supposedly involved in administrating AB 932, it's not a priority for her. Jane Kim's office didn't know that AB 932 was something that we could use as this tool. So I'm saying I would gladly go back to just leading my organization, the St. Francis Homelessness Challenge, or joining another organization, or joining the Department of Homelessness to do this work. The reason I am running right now is because nobody has said it's possible to do what I know is possible, and nobody has the political will to do it. Mark Leno saying he's gonna end homelessness, street homelessness by 2020. He's saying he will immediately put 1,000 people into SROs. Let's have a time frame on that, because immediately to get private property activated is not so immediate in what I know about how real estate works, right? And then he's saying that he wants to build a few, like as many navigation centers as possible. That's not gonna cut it, you guys. We could have a true summer of love and logic if you have a healer, direct service worker, organizational development expert leading the city over the next year. I have 42 and counting measurable outcomes that you could measure me by. And by the way, I wouldn't be an island, I'm a bridge. I would work with people who I admire who are currently in this system, such as I love what Sandra Lee Fewer is doing. She's leading the charge on the public bank, right? So I haven't gone, I'm not gonna take a job at CCSF as a commissioner or get on this other board or do this thing so I can build my career in politics. I am very much focused on what is necessary and possible. And so that is why I am doing this.
There are some things that you could do as
Sorry.
supervisor though, right?
Sorry, we are a bit out of time. I'm gonna give you like 10 seconds to wrap up, and that's it.
Well, that was my closing speech, everyone. But please, my 10 seconds is please, no matter what, go to weissformayor.com and look at this outcomes tracker. And let's, at the very least, do that over the next year. We'll see where we get over the next year with whoever's mayor. I want to work with that person, whoever becomes mayor, or if it's me, to stabilize the 3,500 people living without a toilet and secure sleep this year. And we can do it. All right, thank you guys.